are still sleeping because they were up all night between the hours of 1:30 and 4:30, roughly, I think. So Leif just
What's happening, y'all?
Leif just told them to go back to bed. I
got woken up at about 3 o'clock.
No, it was 4 because I was up for.
Okay, it was 4.
It was 4. Yeah.
Jenna
I let
said,
you sleep.
It's your turn.
I didn't say that. I just
go sleep with the kids.
My son just wanted to just talk, and I said, you can't. You have to stop talking. And then he got his toy gun out and started firing it. I was like, this is time for Dad to come in and just lay down with you for a second because I can't do it.
You know what? I just used this as an opportunity to get after it. So what did I do? I wrapped about 47 Christmas presents.
You know why I think our kids are actually really sleeping? Because they read the news and they were like, General Mattis resigned. There's going to be a government shutdown. I'm just going to sleep in this morning. Like, what's the point? They're like, peace out. They've heard all these different headlines from our lives. Speaking of which, you also wrapped some presents for yourself from me, right?
I did. Thank you for that. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Jenna got me some really thoughtful gifts. It got me exactly what I wanted.
Because you keep buying everything that I was hoping to buy for you.
Flannel shirts and a new pair of workout shoes.
Yeah, that's a good gift. I might be working on something else. In fact, it might have some Smarter News readers who have helped me with this in the Austin area.
Good, because my gift for you ties to Smarter News as well.
Oh, that's right. You know what Leif got me? He showed it to me already. We're the worst. Do you guys see the bag that I did the giveaway from Vintage Soul in Dripping Springs? It's a really cool bag that you can put your computer in, but it's 3 bags in one. And I had a version of the bag, but I didn't have the exact one that we did with the giveaway. So Leif got me that, which is going to come in handy. So thank you for that. It was very thoughtful.
You're welcome. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. All right. We'll talk a little bit about the news now. It might be a good day to sleep in a little bit. It's just feeling a little bit, less holiday cheer than we would like going into Christmas. So where should we begin? Let's start with the government shutdown just because it's more immediate. I want you to know that President Trump is calling this a Democrat shutdown. The Democrats are calling it the Trump shutdown. They have from the beginning. So everyone's trying to brand the shutdown before it actually happens. Here's where it stands right now. You had earlier this week the Senate passing a bill that had the existing levels of border security funding, $1.3 billion. That bill could be taken up by the House, but it wasn't. What the House decided to do, you have the majority of Republicans in the House, you have a conservative contingent in the House, but it wasn't just conservative. So don't let that, I see that storyline out there that, it's a bunch of radical conservatives that push this through. These were a lot of different Republicans. And in fact, one of the Republicans that, from my understanding, was very active in this is a Republican from Maine that actually didn't win re-election. So the idea that this is just a bunch of crazy conservatives that is pushing through the border security wall funding is not true. There were a majority of Republicans that passed a bill that had more than $5 billion of funding for border security. That bill will go back to the Senate today. You can imagine how happy the Senate is to work on a Friday before the holidays. And the Republicans in the House actually met with the president yesterday and got his promise. Listen, if we pass this big funding bill in the House, you're going to need to veto a lesser bill that ends up at your desk. So if the Senate doesn't take up our bill or decides to give you the bill that has less border funding, you cannot sign it. You have to veto it. And the president apparently agreed to this. So here's where we stand today. We're going to watch to see what the Senate does. Will they take up exactly the House bill and it won't pass, and then they'll decide, well, we're going to go ahead and give that bill that we passed to the president and try to avoid the government funding? I don't really know. It gets confusing. I know it's confusing already where bills originate and how they go back and forth between the House and the Senate. The House is important because the House is in charge of appropriation, so that means how money is assigned. So the House, both chambers have to be involved. It can't just be one. So we'll see what the president does today with that information, and we'll see if we're going to face a government shutdown. It will be a partial government shutdown if it does happen. So you would have certain agencies that would close down. It is going to be over the holidays. Essential agencies like the Department of Homeland Security would stay open even though they're not properly funded. So let's just slow our roll before we get there and see what actually happens today. It's remarkable what happens when people feel the pressure of the holiday season and wanting to go home, which is going to be a factor here. So lawmakers can work through the weekend. They can do that. So let's just see. Remember, Senate bill, $1 billion for border security. House bill, $5 billion. We'll see who wins. Anyone want to take bets? Maybe we should do that. We could do like a, you know, like a legal Smarther gambling ring. No, we won't. We won't do that. That would be bad. I think the bigger story of the last 24 hours is the resignation of Secretary James Mattis. You know him, often referred to in the press as Mad Dog as a nickname, although he denies that. He is widely respected by the military as a soldier's leader, a warfighter himself. And that's very rare. I mean, one of the things I've learned being a wife of a veteran, Leif just walked out of the room, is that, you know, you tend to think, believe everything in the movies that you see about soldiers. You know, every general is a warfighter's general, but a lot of the generals and a lot of leadership in the Pentagon and beyond are politicians too, and not all of them have real experience, you know, face to face with the soldiers on the front lines. Oh, I hear someone. The Kraken has awoken. My toddler. So that's something that General Mattis really brought to the game, is a connection with the soldier on the front line and confidence. And his resignation both came a little bit as a surprise. It wasn't something that we were expecting yesterday, but I think the timing does matter. Remember, just a day before, the president put out that we're pulling troops out of Syria. He seemed to do that by himself. There wasn't a lot of preparation for that announcement. And how it's being characterized in the press is that although Secretary Mattis has been thinking about this for some time, that might be the straw that broke the camel's back. You know, just this is just purely my own perspective, having walked away from a career in a position that I really worked hard and loved and felt purpose for as a news anchor. It's not the same as the military, but I was thinking about it yesterday because I know what it takes to walk away from something that you feel called to do. And General Mattis had that sort of reputation of serving a higher purpose. So his resignation feels different than someone that's just in it for the job or in it for the title. And I think it's going to be really important to watch. Now, here's one of the reasons why I think it's important. After the announcement, hi. Grandy's sleeping. You want to go wake her up? It's my mother-in-law in the house. So one of the things that happened after the announcement, Syria, withdrawing from Syria, North Korea, strangely, we haven't heard from North Korea in a little bit, said, well, we're not going to denuclearize unless the United States denuclearizes. It's kind of like throwing a test, or like, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to get your attention again. Interestingly, North Korea and Syria have a little bit of a relationship. There's been wild, reports over the years that Iranian scientists traveled to North Korea to get nuclear technology. They brought it back to the Middle East and helped build a nuclear reactor in Syria that Israel later bombed. All of this, we always have to say reports, widely discussed reports. So what I want to just kind of raise your antenna to is when there's this sort of disruption, what is the United States doing in Syria? Now we're hearing reports that of the 14,000, 15,000 troops in Afghanistan, that half of them are going to come home. What you're going to start seeing is like these little tests. It's almost like you see other countries try to poke, like, well, what's really going on in America? Like the North Koreans are like, well, we're not going to denuclearize. And now you have the Russian president speaking about nuclear war because we've talked about pulling out of a treaty that we think Russia's not holding up. So just kind of watch for these sort of offhanded comments from different world leaders, sort of testing, well, what's up with the United States right now? Just be aware of it. Don't overreact to it, but I'm going to be watching for that because I think that's something that happens when there's a little bit of chaos and uncertainty. I'll be curious what you guys think about some of the changes that we've seen over the last week. It's been a big week of news, and I think there's a lot just to think about. Think about how does this set us up for 2019. Final story I want to mention to you, and then I promise to let you go. There was a really interesting story out of, and I think we should pay attention to it, out of London at Gatwick Airport. Have you guys seen this? There was, did you see I almost got a British accent there for a second? Have you seen this? There were a couple drones, it sounds like consumer drones. You know, these are not military drones, but this is something that you and I could buy, that were buzzing the airport from Wednesday evening throughout Thursday. Police and the military couldn't find where the drones were coming from, who was controlling them. It shut down the airports. So imagine that, couple drones shutting down an entire airport, 120,000 travelers affected by this. And no one knows where these drones are or who did it. We've heard about this around airports in the United States. We've heard about lasers, you know, at New York's airports, trying to shine a laser into a pilot's eye as they land. Not good. So there's no telling if since Gatwick is such a big hub, some of these travelers are going to be able to recover for the holidays because their flights were canceled. So something I just wanted to put on your radar. Final thing to put on your radar, you guys sent us some great recipes at Smarter News for your favorite sugar cookies for the holidays. We are really dedicated to finding facts because I believe that people do not present facts not because they don't exist, but because they're lazy. And facts are actually out there. And so one of the things we were researching is how many cookies we eat a year. And we found that there are really no good updated facts on that, you guys. And we tried really hard. One fact that's used says that we eat about 3 dozen, almost 40 cookies a year. I think that's way low. 40 cookies a year, that would be like, I mean, it's just like a couple cookies a month. You guys eat more than that, don't you? Come on. Hey. She's not awake, so don't wake her up. She's going into my mother-in-law's room. Shh, yeah. Anyways, so the bottom line is you should go with confidence that no one really knows how many cookies you eat on a regular basis and just enjoy them. So I'm gonna put that in a link through Instagram, through our website, smarternews.com. So and I'll update it regularly. So if you'd like to share a recipe with other Smarter News readers, I always like taking recommendations from other people. It's so much more helpful than just pulling one from the book. So anyways, check it out. And if you get a little depressed about what's happening with the government or state of national security, I don't mean to laugh, you know, baking helps. I feel like it can't hurt, right? It can't hurt. And we're going to work through this. We're going to keep everyone posted on what's going on with the government and beyond. All right, guys, have a great weekend. I'll continue to watch what's happening with the shutdown. I'm going to jump on if you need any further explanation and get a little bit more of what's happening with this legislation.